Now, moving into the 17th, the wing is going to join into the interdiction campaign already being carried out by Typhoons and Mustangs of the RAF. And just for context, let me bring up this map and have a look at the area that they're going to operate in. So up until this point, the missions have been mainly patrol missions, looking for enemy aircraft, and then occasional sweeps, again, primarily looking for enemy aircraft, but also strafing vehicles on the ground, sort of an armed reconnaissance type mission. But today we're going to get into bombing some bridges and isolating the battlefield, trying to keep supplies and reinforcements from making it from the German-held areas to the east to the front lines. So let me go into the squadron summaries and have a look at what they describe. So for 441, our aircraft swept the Argenton, Chartres, Bernay areas, but no enemy aircraft were encountered. There was heavy flak in the Caen area, as usual. Pilot Officer Bentley and Flight Officer Horrell returned to 443 Squadron due to casualties suffered on the 16th. 442 describes cool and cloudy in the morning, off duty until 12:30 hours. There was a little excitement at noon among the tents when a fire for heating water got out of hand. 6 on call on the field from 12:30 to 16:30 with 6 more on 15-minute readiness, and more on that here in just a bit. At 19:05, each flight had a small bridge to bomb east of Caen and scored near misses. Little flak, but a piece hit Flight Officer Goodwin's wing. At 2000 hours, there was a sweep into Evero, accurate flak, no enemy aircraft sighted. And 443 gives us weather cloudy with cool breeze from the English Channel, visibility poor, clearing up by noon, and visibility improved. Squadron on readiness during morning, free during afternoon, and on again during evening. 12 aircraft took part in a bombing mission in the evening, objectives being 4 bridges over which advancing German panzers would have to pass to succeed in their intention of cutting off airborne troops who have been holding ground to the east of the canal running from the English Channel to Caen. No further information received on the 4 pilots missing yesterday, and they must be considered lost to the squadron. Effects of all 4 collected and prepared for dispatch to England. Flight Lieutenant Wilson received notification of his award of the DFC Distinguished Flying Cross today. 2 aircraft damaged on landing after bombing tonight due to hang-ups or hung bombs. So first, it mentioned being on different states of readiness, both immediate and 15 minutes, and I was looking for a directive from the time that would explain exactly what the pilots would be doing. The best I found was a 14 July directive on different readiness states, and I'll go through this. This isn't going to be exactly what they were on. My impression is that things weren't exactly this strict at the time, as we'll see here, but this is actually from Squadron Leader, or then Wing Commander Russell, who at some point, and we'll get to all this as we go, takes command of 126 Wing. So from 14 July, readiness states. At present, squadrons are taking far too long to become airborne from available states, and even longer to come to readiness from 30 or 15 minutes. The following conditions are therefore to be complied with when squadrons are at readiness or available. So first we have immediate readiness without bombs. Pilots are to have their aircraft at the downwind end of the runway. Pilots are to remain within spitting distance of their aircraft, and 1 pilot is to stand by the readiness telephone at the end of the runway. And this is the state that, for example, yesterday when Johnson described getting the signal flare and then getting immediately airborne and then contacting Kenway over the radio, this is the state they would have been on. So next up we have immediate readiness when bombed up. And again, pilots are to park at the downwind end of the runway and then remain at readiness at intelligence for a quick briefing. So scrambling for aircraft would just be get airborne immediately. Scrambling in support of ground troops would involve a very, very quick planning session and then transport immediately out to the aircraft that are standing by. Now we have 15 minutes available. Aircraft to be left at the dispersal points. Pilots are to consider themselves at immediate readiness at the intel/ops tent. And then 30 minutes available without bombs and 30 available with bombs. And this is just have your gear at the aircraft and then pilots be available at the dispersal location without bombs or at intel with bombs. And then the third paragraph notes that it is obvious that this system is not going to be quite as enjoyable for the pilots as the previous system, but it is also obvious that this is the only way in which the wing can operate efficiently and on time, and it is to be adhered to at all times. Again, signed Wing Commander Russell. So I thought that was an interesting document, and again, this takes effect later, but the system that's underway right now is going to be similar to this. yet not quite as restrictive. So we'll jump into the missions for the day, and first up is 442 Squadron on a dive bombing mission 1900 to 1930 against bridges, as it noted. It calls out bombing targets Uniform 218761 and Uniform 177680, and we can see more numbers than we have been seeing. Like, for example, we have Tango 8873, 4 numbers down here, 6 numbers up here, so the 6 numbers are going to simply give a more accurate fix on the location. Before, I was using a 1 to 250,000 map, and this time I'm using a 1 to 100,000 map that gives the ability to plot these down much more accurately when it comes to locations. And when flying against a point target like this, either a 1 to 100,000 or a 1 to 50,000 map would be carried by the pilots to identify the target, while the 1 to 250,000 map would still be carried for just overall navigation and finding your way around. But it calls out 8 near misses, 1 hang up and 1 overshot. 1 hang up dropped in the field at Tango 8873, but the balance of the bombs dropped in the area. Flak, meager, light, accurate, over targets, no enemy aircraft opposition, hazy to 6,000 feet. And I have some imagery that I'm going to look at. The way that I'm interpreting this is that there were 2 sets of bridges here. One was attacked by the top, let me see, that would have been 6 aircraft. The second attacked by the bottom 6 aircraft. Now immediately after this, we have 443 Squadron going up and making an attack on these exact same 2 bridges as a follow-up. So I'll describe their experience now. Weather cloudy, visibility poor, but improving during the day, and perfectly clear at 1300. 12 aircraft dispatched to dive bomb bridges northeast of Caen. Aircraft met by heavy enemy flak opposition, but none of our aircraft were hit. 1 direct hit observed for our squadron, but others not so accurate. Aircraft flown by Flight Lieutenant Prest returned with a bomb hang-up, and on landing, the bomb dropped and the fin penetrated the fuselage. Aircraft categorized as Cat C. Aircraft flown by Flight Officer Gilbert had the same trouble. This time the bomb struck the stern frame of the aircraft, categorized as Cat B. Both aircraft would have been repairable, but not in very good shape. Now, I take that back. It doesn't actually call out which bridges that 443 Squadron attacked, so I just have them going into the same general area. It would have probably, come to think of it, been different bridges. We have lots and lots of candidates out here with this river coming down straight south from Cabourg. But to have a look at the exact bridges that we know were hit on this strike, I'll bring up the one to the north, closer to Cabourg first. The image that I have was taken on the 6th of June, and I was kind of surprised to see this far to the east a glider that had landed right here at this bridge. Now, I don't know if that was intentional or not. That would make sense to have a glider land right there by the bridge in an attempt to secure it, although it is kind of odd that it would be just the one glider, and we have all the drop zones and glider landing zones that were planned up here, so I suppose it's just as likely that this was sort of off course and meant to land on one of the established landing zones. But yeah, in either case, I was kind of surprised to see it there, and we see the bridge right there, and it called out 8 near misses, meager, light flak, probably just small arms or light flak from German forces in the area. We didn't get a description of the roll-in and release altitude for this one, but on later dates, I think it's actually tomorrow, it describes rolling in on these bridges again from south to north from 8 to 3,000 feet, so rolling in with a view of it kind of like this, probably from a much steeper angle, however. Something more like that, rolling in at 8,000 feet and then pulling out of the dive before passing through 3,000 to keep out of the flak. So if you've ever tried doing this in DCS in a World War II aircraft, those 8 near misses were actually a pretty good showing. It's going to be rare to see direct hits in this kind of bombing. Now, the next bridge down to the south, we have another image, and this is from the 15th. Again, actually just 2 days before the mission to hit this one. And this was a very good photo when it comes to the time it was taken and the altitude, and you can get a good feel from this one as well of how little the landscape has changed. Just some expansions to the town, it looks like, and some forests that have popped up, but again, you can see the exact bridge that they went for on this mission. So shortly after these landed, we have a 2050 to 2035 fighter sweep conducted by 441 and 442 squadrons. So let's see what they have to say about this. 441 gives us the squadron swept to Argenton, Chartres, Bernay areas, nothing to report. 442 the same, uneventful, flak, heavy, accurate, intense from Con area as usual, light haze to 7,000 feet, but visibility good. And the last mission of the day is a scramble by 443 Squadron, and this was 2235 to 2255. 4 aircraft scrambled from Readiness to patrol beachhead, patrol uneventful. Now before I close out, I had completely forgotten to plot out this location for the drop of the hung bomb by 442 Squadron at Tango 8873. This is the field where it would have been jettisoned at, or there's probably in the Spitfire, and well, I guess we'll find out once the Spitfire is released, probably like a manual bomb release handle or an emergency jettison style handle, and that's where that bomb would have been released at. And we run into, on this day for the first time, trouble with bombs hanging up on these Spitfire bomb racks. I've got to do some more digging. I know that this was a big problem at the time, and before I go into a detailed description of what happened and what they did about it, I do need to dig for some more background on the bomb racks and the armament system on the Spitfire, but we'll have plenty of time to have a look at that as they start more and more to fly with bombs on these Spitfires. So that is going to wrap it up for the day, and we're going to move on to the 18th of June and see how things pan out. So thanks again for watching, and I'll see you then.